Maple Leafs forever on the Fired Up Network.
Hey everybody, this is Joseph Pasek, and welcome to the Fired Up Network. Welcome to Maple Leafs Forever with the broadcasting legend, Storm and Norm Rumack. We're into round two, Norm, the second time in 20-something years. How do you feel, you biggest Leaf blower?
How do I feel? Well, it could be. I think it'll be very entertaining hockey, that's for sure. Very tough, a lot of skill. And I think we're looking, Joe, from my perspective, a 7-game series, flip a coin. I think we'll see several overtimes. Overall, I give Florida a slight edge because they are the reigning Stanley Cup champions, and they went to the Cup final the year before. They've got that valuable experience of what it takes to go several rounds like that and to win. They're, as far as I know, they're in relatively good shape health-wise. And believe me, when I say I pick Florida in 7, I give them a slight edge. I'm not. It's not meant as any disrespect to the Maple Leafs. I just think Florida has that slight edge. And once you're the champion, someone has to knock you off. And until somebody knocks them off, whether it's Toronto or anybody else, they are still the champions. So I give a Florida that very slight edge. And again, I foresee several overtimes. I think the home games, I think both teams will split their home games. So I see the Leafs winning one of their home games, and I see Florida winning one of their home games of the first 4 games, right? And then from there, who knows? Like I say, anything can happen. Obviously in Toronto, most people would be inclined to pick the Maple Leafs, but if I'm being totally neutral, I give a very slight edge to the Florida Panthers. I say a slight edge. I don't think you can take away from Stanley Cup experience and having won the Cup and having been to a final the year before. So that's what my gut instinct tells me is Florida in 7. But obviously that implies we're in for some very exciting hockey, tough hockey, high-skilled hockey. There's a lot to like about it. And, it's possible the Florida-Toronto series might be the best one in the entire playoffs, no matter who wins. There's no guarantee the Stanley Cup final would be a great series, although you expect like last year's was, right? We were at the pickled toad or whatever.
Pickled toad, get it right, man. How do you want this to get advertised if you don't even know the place? Come on.
Well, I got pretty close to it. Anyway, it's up in the north part of the city, up where Joe resides, and he's one of their loyal customers. But we watched.
Reside there. Never mind. All right, let's talk about this. I gotta say this. All right, this round, Maple Leafs are in the second round for the first time second time in 25 years. All right, they don't have a Saturday game. Here's the schedule: tonight, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, 4. Then they have 2 days off. They play Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. So does that bother Maple Leafs? Or if I'm Sportsnet, I want Toronto at 7 and Edmonton at 10 or Vancouver or Winnipeg at 10. They don't have.
Yeah, but Joe,
go ahead.
Joe, I don't think it really bothers anybody, and I'll tell you why. You could put the way Leaf fans work everywhere, wherever they live in the country or the city or the world. Leaf fans will watch games at 4 in the morning. If every game was on at 4 in the morning, they would set their alarm and they'd watch them. So whether it's on Saturday night, Monday night, or Tuesday afternoon, they would find a way to watch it. So I think that's why the NHL can, if you want to call it, I don't think it's much of a gamble. They'll get great ratings whenever the Maple Leafs are on because they're so highly followed, the most followed team across Canada. And one of the most followed teams in the National Hockey League, if not the most followed. They're certainly right up there with probably the likes of, you'd have to say because of the population of New York City. I assume the Rangers get a huge following too when they're on the tube. But probably the Maple Leafs have the highest ratings. They're either first or second in the National Hockey League. I would expect they'd be first in terms of TV ratings in the National Hockey League if you take the number of viewers that they have. I could be slightly off, but not by much. So, no, to answer your question, it's not a big gamble. It's a problem for people who are used to watching on Saturday nights, but only because it's convenient because most people aren't working Saturday nights. And, So it wouldn't really matter what time the Maple Leafs games are on TV. Like I say, you could put them on. You can put them on at 1 in the morning in the middle of the week, 4 in the morning, 6 in the morning. People will either book off work or they'll come to work late. And most of their employers will say, "Well, okay, it's a Stanley Cup playoff, blah blah blah." They'll allow a little bit of even school kids, right? I mean, I used to listen to Leaf games when they were only on radio and playing in Oakland, California, and Los Angeles, California, and the games would start at 11 p.m. I was supposed to be asleep by 11 p.m. I wouldn't get to sleep till 2:30. If they lost the game, I wouldn't get to sleep at all. So Maple Leaf games are guaranteed viewership, listenership, all that kind of stuff. And it may not be convenient for you, but does it affect their ratings or the NHL ratings or the Sportsnet or CBC ratings? No, not at all. Not at all.
All right. So let's get to tonight's game one. I differed from you. If the Maple Leafs are going to win this series, I think they need to win game one and game two. Make a different series than because they always win one, then they lose. They won the first game last year, and then they lost 4 in a row to Florida there, right? Or 2 years ago. But I think they need to win both games at home. Both games at home. Now, we mentioned this on the NHL Lowdown. Congratulations to Mitch Marner. Him and his wife had a baby boy. Also,
Yep.
Mitch Marner turns 28 today, so he wants you to sing happy birthday. But, key to this series, obviously the core four. Austin Matthews has to play better than he did in the Ottawa series. Mitch Marner has to show up. John Tavares is doing great there. William Nylander, the last few games, he has shown really up there. But the defense, Simon Benoit, and Morgan Riley scoring goals. They didn't score during the regular season. And, of course, former Florida Panther Anthony Stolarz got to steal a game from Bobrovsky there, and that's how the Maple Leafs will win that series. What do you say?
Well, like I said, I'm giving a slight edge because they're the Stanley Cup champions of the Florida Panthers. Like I say, we're talking about a hair and a freckle difference, but that hair and a freckle, why I weigh in favor of Florida in 7 games, is because of their Stanley Cup experience. I think they're a relatively healthy team. A lot of their injured players got a lot of time off at the last 3 weeks, so Florida's numbers went down. So, like I say, it should be a great series. If I pick a team in 7, I say there's a hair and a freckle. That means that realistically it could go either way. And I think I've mentioned before that I see this series involving, 2 or 3 overtimes. Could be more overtimes. You could have overtime every game with these teams because they're so close. But I think that Stanley Cup experience is invaluable. And Florida is not only a very highly skilled team like the Maple Leafs, but they're also a very physical team. And, Matthew Tkachuk is one of the most intimidating players in the National Hockey League. So you can't take away from them either.
And now in the first round, they beat Brady Tkachuk. This round, and Matthew Tkachuk. I'm worried about Matthew Tkachuk, but the truth is there's also another guy, number 63, who's been a thorn in the side of the Maple Leafs for like 10 years with the Boston Bruins. We're talking about Brad Marchand. And just a side note, Team Canada just announced that Sidney Crosby and Nathan McKinnon will participate in Team Canada at the World Championships this week, starting this week, end of this week. Also, it looks like some players, Brayden Schenn from St. Louis, and maybe another player from Colorado, Taves, appearing in the World Championship. If that happens, if the players they got, Canada should roll over whoever, USA, Sweden, and everything like that. The World Championship starts next week. All right, we close out. I'm going to ask you, Norm, give me a prediction of the score tonight. Who wins tonight?
All right. I did pick Florida to win the series, but I'll pick Toronto to win game 1, and I'll pick them to win 3-2. And I'll pick it just for the heck. Let's make it fun. I'll pick them to win in overtime. Toronto 3-2 winners in the first game. So
you're going to stay up late because the game tonight starts at 8 p.m. 8 p.m. p.m. Next two games are at 7 p.m. Sunday's games at 7:30. All the way Sunday, Mother's Day is at 4:30. We got Dallas and Winnipeg, and 7:30 Florida and Toronto. So your Mother's Day is set. And by the way, I have a note here. And Norm, you got to do this. It's Mitch Marner's birthday today, 28th. But next Saturday, May 10th, everybody, come out. What was that place? I forgot that place called. Come out where we celebrate Norm's birthday. Mars Diner. Celebrate Norm's birthday at 3:30 in the morning. 3:30 in the morning, Saturday, May 10th. And we have a question from, again, it must be a big one of yours. Patricia wants to know, what does Norman want for his birthday? And no way he's 70 years old. He looks like 94. So
yeah, well, I work with you, Joe. I feel like I'm 104.
Well, what do you want for your birthday?
Geez, Joe. How about $1 million? Can you come up with that?
Once again, you're going to be disappointed. Maybe $10, then that's it. But Patricia, you know what he wants for his birthday? You know, a piece of pizza. Not one piece, maybe a box of pizza from Pizza, right? No, sorry, that's your friend.
Yeah, I'll take, a box of pizza would be nice, Joe. Especially vegetarian with a little. No, not vegetarian.
What vegetarian? You get pizza for vegetarian? What's wrong with you?
Well, a little bit of broccoli, a few mushrooms, and a few pieces of chicken or bacon would be nice.
Pizza? You're telling. Next thing you're going to tell me you like pineapple on pizza.
No, I don't like pineapple on pizza, Joe. But I'll take the broccoli, mushrooms, and some chicken.
What about bacon?
Yeah, sure. Bacon would be nice.
No, you're Jewish. I have to talk to God to let you have that. All right. So Norm says tonight the Maple Leafs win in overtime, 3-2. I don't think it's going to be overtime. I think the Maple Leafs will win 5-3 on an empty net goal. Happy birthday to Mitch Marner. Congratulations, Mitch Marner. Tavares, Austin Matthews, William Nylander, and everybody in the Maple Leafs. Hopefully you show that the reigning, defending Stanley Cup champions, they've been there twice and back-to-back years, that it's not your year this year. It's Leafs forever. Go Leafs, go. Norm, tell everybody how they could get a hold of them.
Yeah, well, right here on the Fired Up Network, we preview the Leaf games, we review the Leaf games, we look at the NBA with our good friend Tracy Murray, former Toronto Raptor, LA Laker.
We got baseball with Jesse Lynch now.
Yeah, baseball with Jesse Lynch. Yeah, that's right. Jesse Lynch joins us to talk baseball, the former Blue Jay pitcher. Now he's a manager. And, so we look at the National Football League in depth. And we look at all the sports, all the stuff that you follow, we follow, including we delve into the local teams that you follow in Toronto and elsewhere across Canada. So we look at footy, talk soccer with our good buddy John Nelson, OSG Sports in Atlanta. Look at MLS, the top leagues in Europe as well. So we got all the bases. We got all the bases covered, Joe.
Yeah, Steve Carney from Tampa back this week. So, look, we got everything covered. It's not Norm Rumack. Go Leafs, go Maple Leafs forever. Game 1, preview the Leafs and
Maple Leafs forever on the Fired Up Network.